Adela Cepeda, Colombiana, successful entrepreneur and financial expert. She is corporate director of BMO Financial Corp and is board chair of both the UBS funds and the Pathway funds. She is also the governance chair of the Mercer funds. Adela serves on numerous civic and nonprofit boards, including the Cook County Council of Economic Advisors. She is also president of the Atro Vista. Adela is chair of Ángeles Investors, a group seeking to find, fund, and grow the best Latino disruptive startups in America. I am a proud member. Since co-founding Ángeles Investors in 2020, the group now has over 200 members throughout the United States and growing. In 2022, Adela was included among the 100 most influential Latinos by Bloomberg Linea. She was also named among the 50 most powerful Latinas by the Association of Latino Professionals for American Alpha for 3 consecutive years and was selected for inclusion in the 2021 NACD Dictatorship 100, a recognition given to the most influential leaders in corporate governance. Hello, Adela. Hola. Super excited to have the first Colombiana in our Mass Impact podcast. ¿Puedes creer eso? So what an honor to have you here with us. We met through this wonderful organization, Ángeles Investors. I'll let you talk more about that. And it's just great to have you here. Congrats on all your achievements and accomplishments and for representing Colombianas and Latinas so well. So let's start with your backstory. How has your family background, growing up in Colombia, moving to the US, how has that shaped sort of your life trajectory and your achievements?
Well, thank you so much for having me, by the way. And I'm a big admirer of yours and the consulting firm that you've built. Very impressive. And love to see Latinas in the cutting edge of technology like you.
Gracias.
So thank you for that. Like most immigrants, especially when they come young, absolutely. My family, my arrival here as an immigrant, not really knowing English, having to start abruptly right into English classes, feeling that I was falling behind as a little girl. I came at 6. This all had deep effects on me. My parents were driven to come here in search of better education for their children. And so that was ingrained in me. So trying to figure out how to advance in school, and then how to get into college, as the oldest, that fell on me. I knew what the goal was, but the rules for getting there, I had no idea. So learning to use the language, because I learned English pretty quickly, to help my family with immigration issues, friends and family that came after us. We were among the first from our group. My father came in 1963. I came in 1964 with my mother. That had a deep effect. The effect was I had to succeed. There was no, there wasn't a choice.
Right.
That was the mission. That was the whole familial goal. Everybody was behind us to get us there. And I did everything that I could to do that. Keep in mind that the definitions per se, difficult. I mean, what is to be a professional? We didn't get the rules. You have to go to college. It was just become a professional. In America, you become a professional by going to college in most places in the world, I guess. But I had to learn all that, and I did. And of course, it shaped me. It gave me discipline. And I've been a disciplined person because of that.
Discipline is such a key value that I think we learn as Latinas. It's like, that's the job, and you just do it. You don't complain. You don't think about it. Just do it, right? I love that. And look at where you are now in the boardroom. and I was looking at some statistics, not very encouraging, right? Of Latinos in boards. I believe it's less than 5%. For Latinas, it's probably, I was trying to figure out who do I know Latinas in the board. I think less than 10. That's not right, right? And
No.
so I love to learn about what that is like being in the boardroom. And there's a lot happening in technology and innovation. There's also discussion about risk, of course, that I'm sure discussed frequently in boards. What's your perspective on that, Adela? How do you help leaders in the company that you advise think about the advancements in technology?
Well, there's no business that I'm involved in that isn't deeply affected by technology.
Right.
Particularly, my field is finance. And so all the finance companies are affected. I sit on the board of BMO Financial Corp. Everything is being impacted by technology, and anything that was falling behind had to accelerate and get caught up in the pandemic. When we stopped visiting the bank for transactions, forcing everyone to learn how to use their phone and other digital assets to execute transactions, that's when technology caught up and we caught up, and our technological developments were shrunk to months in order to meet the demand, the need for digital and other electronic ways of executing. So that's a key lesson in the boardroom. And of course, being in that space where you are deeply affected by cybersecurity risk, and frankly, you're held accountable for the risks by your regulators, we have to be current on the state of the art for keeping our institution as safe as possible from the risks of, hacks and other illegal activity that can ultimately result in, losses and fraud. And so we make huge investments in this industry, in technology. And if you aren't current in understanding the risks, you can't really assess the technology and figure out how to be advised on what the right technology is. So you rely heavily on management, which is where I think the responsibility should lie. But we have to be able to speak the language, understand the products, and then make the decisions on the investments in that area.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, every business is now a technology business, and that means all leaders, diverse or not, must be technology savvy, right? Some of our clients are in the finance space, and there's just so much investment happening around data and even modernization, moving things to cloud and so forth. So that makes sense. Now, switching to the topic of diversity in tech and in business, there's a lot of evidence showing how important that is and how companies actually perform better when they have more diverse teams. Why do you believe, Adela, that this topic should matter to everyone?
Well, we live in a diverse society, and the world is diverse, and the world is our market in addition to our U.S. market. How do we reach this spectrum of cultures if we don't have some diversity on the board? Starting with, of course, women, but not limited to women. I mean, we have to have diversity of what America is and of what the world is. So I don't think you really can succeed where there isn't diversity, because you're going to lag in terms of understanding markets and areas that are important for the board to be leading on, and instead you're behind. So I don't like this question, because to me the question is, why don't you believe in diversity? Why is it that you think without a diverse company, without a diverse employee base, without a diverse C-suite, why do you think that you can succeed?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And the fact that we have to even ask this question to bring your perspective to our listeners is also interesting. There's a lot of debate, especially lately, around this topic, right? And some news that are not so favorable in terms of continuing some of the initiatives. So I'm glad to hear your perspective on what it means for business as well, right? It is imperative for business leaders to understand the markets they serve. It's not just some philanthropic aspect. So thank you for sharing that. And speaking of diversity, and you were talking to us about you being a little girl as an immigrant, not English, and now as a woman, Latina, you are in these leadership positions. Tell us about belonging, and what advice do you have for others who may not think that it is possible for them to be where you are today, right? To feel like they belong in a leadership role for those who have diverse backgrounds.
Well, I do have to say that I always did feel that I had to reach beyond my grasp. Really, not to be trite, but those were kind of the expectations that my parents had. So I didn't feel I didn't belong, and I don't feel that I don't belong. I do belong because I have an expertise. Like I said before, my expertise is finance. So I'm comfortable understanding all of the financial data, and that helps me a great deal in the boardroom. So I come to it, I think, from a place of strength in terms of I do know that I have skills that are valuable there. I think that if we're talking about the boardroom, I think that the important thing is for you to become a leader in your field. Once you become a leader in your field, you understand better how that field fits into other companies and what are the right questions and what are the right connections that you can help bring about. And I think that's what should be pursued. Now, obviously, it's horrific that there's such minimal representation of Latinos in the boardroom. I think that shouldn't be tolerated. And I think given how strong our community is, we always should ask about companies that we're buying from.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the leaders and who are those in the boardroom? And if they're not in the boardroom and if they're not in the leadership, we should move on to another company and another product. I mean, we have the power to do this. And we should exert it, because as a community, Latinos in the United States have more purchasing power than Brazil, I think, than India. I mean, would be the 5th largest power in terms of demand for goods in the world. And I think companies would feel the pain of not properly representing us internally if we acted that way, which I think we should.
Yeah, no, that's right. There's so much power in those numbers, and sometimes we don't use it. And I love what you said about strength. And sometimes some in our community may feel like they don't belong because they probably don't value enough the skills that we bring to the table. And so owning those skills, knowing that we have an expertise that can truly contribute, should, make us feel like we do belong and we do deserve to be in leadership positions. That's great. Now, I'm sure there were challenges for you along the way, right? I'm an entrepreneur and our journey is always ups and downs. And our Latino community is all about resiliency and, being persistent and going for it. That's the job. Like you said, that's the mission. Tell us about some stories or any advice or times where you felt that things were not going your way and how you were able to persevere.
Well, I would say, from a professional standpoint, I was able to get into investment banking, which was very exclusive, and really there was no representation there of Latinos, of hardly anyone of color there. So that was kind of different, but I concentrated on learning what the business was about. Afterwards, I was challenged. I didn't see the same opportunities for me that the men in the business had. It was difficult for me to get a corporate job in M&A or treasury or the CFO office, which is where most investment bankers go after, a decade in investment banking and having learned and marketed very sophisticated financing tools and products. So I didn't have that opportunity, and that opened up the entrepreneurship angle, because I think this is what we find in our community. Latinas are the number one source of new businesses, and it's because maybe we hit ceilings or walls or, feel there's a lack of opportunity on the corporate side, and then, well, there's not much to lose. Let's open our own businesses. I have always felt there is a lot in the corporate sector. Why should we leave those resources behind? But 10 years in investment banking is a long time. I mean, it's a grinding business. You're trying to have a family. You just can't keep up with that kind of travel. And, you have to do something else. That's normal too. But not finding the kind of opportunities that I thought that I saw that my peers had was frustrating. And so I did open my own businesses, and, I've never looked back. But the ups and downs of owning your own business, better than anyone, what it's like. I mean, at the beginning, I never even paid myself for months to make sure that I had enough for the whole year to pay all the employees, and then I would take out for me. It wasn't until June that I would, start. That took years for me to go to a normal pay cycle, and those are some of the sacrifices you make as an entrepreneur, because you want the business to continue. It was also difficult to sell the business because I was so identified with AC Advisory in the municipal field. But I think it's important to monetize what we build, and that's what I tried to do. It was a good time to sell, but it's always hard to do. But the hardest thing I've had to deal with is to be a single mother with 3 children. I mean, a widow. That was the most challenging thing. 3 daughters, 4, 6, and 8, and then you're faced with you have to move forward. So I would say that to me, work is more fun because life brought tremendous hardships. If I hadn't had work, I couldn't have persevered. So I'm grateful for the opportunities to work, and the resources that brought me to be able to raise my daughters, get them into Ivy League schools, all three of them, and get them ahead. Yeah. But was definitely the hardest. When people talk about challenges at work, yeah, it's okay. But
It's just work.
It's not, yeah, it's work. You can put it down. What I had to endure and persevere through, because it was a little bit harder. You know, it's not common to be a widow at 37. So kind of at the beginning of the of when I should have been, building up. It's hard to do it by yourself. I will say that as well. But there's no look. Women in so many parts of the world don't have choices. So I had a choice for a while about what to do and how to do it, and after that I didn't, and that was fine. It focused me on next steps and what I had to do. But I want to say, despite my own personal situation, my commitment to our community has been there from the beginning. Something kind of reinforced by my mother. She was always so proud of our language, of our culture, and I shared that pride, and I always wanted to do what I could to advance the perception of Latinos in America and do my part and also help others move ahead. So no matter what the situation, I think it's important for us who came early on and who, had to break a lot of ceilings and open doors to have that in mind. And I hope that future generations feel the same way.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing all of that and for being vulnerable with us. It's just, speak of resiliency and your commitment to family and now to the Latino community is just remarkable. And it's a great transition to my last question. This podcast is all about how can we have mass impact, whether you are in finance or technology, an entrepreneur, or you're building a career. We can all impact other people's lives. And you talk about Latinos creating businesses, right? Especially Latinas. Stanford had this incredible research. Only 3% or so of Latinos grow their businesses beyond $1 million mark. I couldn't believe it when I heard that statistic. And so you obviously doing a lot of work with Ángeles Investors, and I'd love for you to share with our listeners, what are you doing to have mass impact and to help those Latinos in our community grow their careers and their companies?
Well, I was fortunate to connect with now over 200 other members that share this passion. But we started in the year 2000, so we're not even 4 years old. We're close to having 250 members and created an angel investing group, Ángeles Investors, which is now the fastest growing angel group in America. We've raised millions for businesses that need capital. Look, there's a reason why Latino businesses don't scale over $1 million. It's capital. Businesses need capital to open the second store, to add employees. You need capital. To the extent you don't have a line of credit to help you with this, you need equity capital. And we see more and more Latinos in technological spaces trying to build creative solutions for not just national, but international businesses. And I'm very excited about what we're doing at Ángeles Investors with the investments in over 25 startups and several of them that have already demonstrated incredible potential. And I can also talk about those, but it's just so exciting to be able to directly help a a startup business, as it's called, get off the ground and get in the marketplace, disrupt a marketplace, take market share, grow incredibly. It's just one of the most exciting things. And to be able to do it for Latinos who face a huge wealth gap where we can't turn to friends and parents that can lend us $100,000 because that's 2 or more times the whole net worth of the family. It's not realistic. So even though we are the fastest growing ethnic group in America, Latinos, the amount of venture capital that comes to our startups is de minimis. It's 1% at best, and who knows if that. And so we thought, let's try and do something to help here. And it's not the kind of thing that one person alone can do. So to me, what's exciting is that there's already 250 other people motivated the same way. And you can have a great idea, but if nobody turns on the light bulb, it's nothing. So you need support to build something like this. And I'm excited about that. That helps our companies connect faster, learn more from our members who are themselves leaders. They may not be entrepreneurs, some of them, a lot of them are, but they are definitely leaders in their fields. So it's really exciting. I'm very excited about that. And now we're building a fund to go alongside it that's going to accelerate the impact that we can bring to the Latino entrepreneurial startup tech market.
I love that. And Adela, if you could see your eyes lighting up, you're talking about Ángeles Investors, like your baby.
I love it.
It's so great because the theme all along has been, that's the job, that's the mission. There's a problem, we find a solution and we go do it, right? We don't complain. So thank you for all you do. I'm very proud to be part of Ángeles Investors, and definitely the capital is key. I'm very fortunate to be self-funded, but I'm in the services business. I'm sure a lot of others definitely need that capital to grow their companies. But in addition to the financial funds, the community that gets built, the access, the ability to ask questions, to share challenges, to say, hey, I need advice here. How do I connect with someone there? That is just so powerful. And so I've been at some of those events and the energy is just incredible. So thank you for getting that started. And I'm glad that that is now growing. That is definitely mass impact for the founders, for their employees, for people who benefit from their products and services. So gracias, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I mean, it's incredible to see a Colombiana, woman, immigrant, Latina. You built your career, you're a mom. I mean, you went through a lot in your life. And here you are advocating for other Latinos, sold your company, you are representing us in boards and making sure that you sort of bring others in the journey with you. So thank you for being a role model for our girls. I have a 12-year-old as well, Camila, and for Latinos in general. And I like to say at más, juntos somos más. So juntos, seguro lograremos muchísimo más. Thank you so much, Adela.
Es cierto. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.